here and decided to go rogue
and blow his ugly face off.
Ready to take your English to the next level? Just listen to this podcast.
Hey everybody, today we're going to tackle those little things that trip up every English learner.
Phrasal verbs.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So those are those tricky combinations of verbs and prepositions that can totally change the meaning of a sentence.
Yeah.
And today we're going to do it with one of the most popular shows of the last few years. Squid Game.
Right.
Now, before we jump to the show, if you are an English language learner, you might want to check out Funfluen. It's a fantastic app that uses movies and TV shows just like this to teach you English.
Really cool approach.
So you can learn while you're entertained anyway. Back to Squid Game. Looks like you've been busy with your notes. You've got entire scenes marked up, tons of phrasal verbs highlighted.
It's a great way to learn, I think.
Yeah.
You know, you're seeing them in context.
Exactly.
In a real situation.
And you've even organized them into categories.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive.
Well, it helps to, break it down.
Of course.
Make it a little easier.
Yeah. So let's start with your first category, which you've called basic but essential. And we're going to start with the phrasal verb, run your mouth.
Okay.
And you've got it highlighted from this line. How about you stop running your mouth and show yourself?
Oh, that's a classic Squid Game line. Very aggressive, right?
Yeah.
So run your mouth basically means to talk too much.
Okay.
Often in a way that's annoying or boastful.
Okay.
It's like saying someone's all talk and no action.
Right. So it's not just about talking a lot. It's about talking without substance.
Exactly.
Okay.
It implies that someone is talking for the sake of talking, maybe to show off or intimidate others, but they're not actually doing anything to support their words.
I can definitely see how that fits into the world of Squid Game.
Yeah.
Right? Where the stakes are so high,
Absolutely.
actions speak louder than words.
Right. Think of it this way. If someone is constantly running their mouth about how they're going to win the game, but they're not actually making any smart moves, they're probably going to be in trouble.
Yeah, they're not going to last very long. All right, so what's next on our list?
Okay, so you've got get on highlighted.
Okay.
From the line, you should have gotten on that plane. Now, this one's interesting because get on can have a few different meanings depending on the context.
The dreaded multiple meanings.
I know, right?
I'm already intrigued.
So in this case, it means to board a vehicle.
Right.
Like a plane, bus, or train.
Uh-huh.
But you've also got other examples from your notes.
Oh,
like, how do you get on with your new roommate?
Right, so how does get on change meaning in that sentence?
Well, in that context, it shifts from physical boarding to the realm of relationships.
Okay.
Get on means to have a good relationship with someone.
Right.
To coexist peacefully, maybe even enjoy each other's company.
Okay.
You could also ask someone, how are you getting on with your English studies? Which means, how are you progressing or managing?
Wow. So it's not just about getting along with people.
No.
It's also about how you're doing with a task or a process.
Precisely. It's a versatile phrasal verb that can be used in a lot of different situations.
Okay, I'm starting to see how understanding these little nuances can really elevate my English.
Absolutely.
So what's next?
You've got go after highlighted from. They go after people at subway stations.
Oh yeah, that line definitely paints a picture in my head.
It does.
Go after seems pretty straightforward to me, to pursue or chase someone.
You got it.
Right.
It can be used literally like the police are going after the criminals.
Uh-huh.
But it can also be used more metaphorically.
Okay.
For example, when talking about goals or ambitions, you could say, she's going after her dreams of becoming a doctor.
So it's about pursuing something with determination.
Exactly.
Whether it's a person, a dream, even a business deal.
Right. It's about taking action and striving to achieve something specific.
Okay, what's the next phrasal verb that caught your eye?
You've got turn into, highlighted from how they managed to turn you into their lapdog. Another pretty intense line.
Yeah, there are a lot of intense lines in Squid Game. So turn into basically means to transform or change from one thing to another.
Yes, it's about becoming something different. And like many phrasal verbs, it can be used in both positive and negative ways.
Okay, can you give us some examples?
Absolutely. Imagine a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
Okay.
You'd say the caterpillar turned into a butterfly, or in a business context, what started as a small project turned into a major success.
Okay, so it can definitely express positive transformation.
Yeah.
But how about the negative side?
Well, think about a friendly discussion that escalates into a heated argument.
Okay.
You could say the friendly discussion turned into a heated argument, Or in a more dramatic context, the peaceful protest turned into a riot.
Wow, so it's all about highlighting that shift
Right.
from one state to another,
Yeah,
whether it's for better or worse.
exactly. Now, ready to move on to some advanced expressions, as you've labeled them in your notes?
Bring it on, I'm ready to level up my phrasal verb game.
Okay, you've got rollover highlighted from you roll over heel because you're their fef dog.
Okay, first of all, that line is harsh.
It is.
Second of all, rollover seems pretty straightforward, like what a dog does.
Right.
But I'm guessing there's more to it.
You're right. It does have a literal meaning, but it also has a powerful metaphorical meaning.
Okay.
Metaphorically, it means to submit to someone's authority or give up without a fight.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about physical submission.
No.
It's about yielding to someone else's will or power.
Exactly. It can be used to describe situations where someone is forced to comply or back down, often against their will.
So if a company gives in to their competitors' demands, you could say the company rolled over and accepted the competitor's terms.
Right.
Even if it wasn't in their best interest.
Precisely. Or if someone is refusing to back down, they might say, we won't roll over just because they're threatening legal action.
This is getting interesting. I'm starting to see how these seemingly simple phrasal verbs can pack a lot of punch.
They absolutely do, and that's why it's so important to understand their nuances.
Okay, what's next on our phrasal verb adventure?
Okay, you've highlighted blow off from blow his ugly face off. Again, a very intense line.
Yeah, Squid Game is not for the faint of heart.
It's not.
But blow off obviously has other meanings that are a bit less,
Right.
shall we say, explosive.
Absolutely, it can mean to dismiss or ignore something like, he just blew off my concern.
Or to skip an obligation. She blew off the meeting.
Right. And it can also mean to release pressure, like the valve blows off steam.
Wow. So many different meanings
I know.
for one little phrasal verb.
They're very versatile.
All right, so we've done basic but essential.
Uh-huh.
Now you've also got a section called subtle context phrasal verbs.
Right.
Let's see what you've got here.
Okay, so you've highlighted hash out from the line. We can hash all that out over a drink.
Hash out is a good one. It means to discuss something thoroughly until you reach an agreement.
Exactly. It's like saying talk it over, but with a bit more emphasis on the detailed discussion and problem solving involved.
So it's for those conversations where you really need to get into the nitty-gritty and find a solution that works for everyone involved.
Right. It implies that there are some complexities or disagreements that need to be addressed and resolved through careful discussion.
So you might hear the negotiating teams spend hours hashing out the details of the contract.
Or let's hash out the project timeline in tomorrow's meeting.
Okay, I'm getting the hang of this hash out. Is for those conversations where you really need to iron out the wrinkles
Yeah,
and come to a clear understanding.
you got it. And it often involves compromise and finding common ground.
Okay, what's the next subtle phrasal verb on our list?
You've highlighted squeeze out from going to go and squeeze a broke-ass kid like me.
Another tough line.
It is.
Highlighting the harsh realities of the game.
Yeah.
But squeeze out is a great verb to know.
Yeah.
It basically means to extract something, often money or resources, through pressure or force.
Exactly. It often has a slightly negative connotation, implying that someone is being taken advantage of or pressured into giving something up.
So it's not about asking politely
No.
or negotiating fairly.
No.
It's about using power or influence to get what you want.
Exactly. It suggests a lack of fairness or ethical consideration in how something is obtained.
Okay, can you give us some more examples of how squeeze out might be used in different situations?
Sure, you might hear about a company trying to squeeze more profit out of their aging factory, even if it means cutting corners on safety or worker well-being.
So it's about prioritizing profit over other considerations.
Right.
Even if it means exploiting resources or people.
It can also be used in situations where resources are limited.
Okay.
For example, he managed to squeeze out a few more miles from the nearly empty gas tank.
Okay, I see. It's about getting the most out of something even when there's not much left.
And in a more social context, you might hear, they're squeezing out the small businesses in the neighborhood by raising rents or implementing policies that make it difficult for them to compete.
So it's about pushing someone or something out,
Right.
often unfairly, or through tactics that create an uneven playing field.
That's a great way to put it. Squeeze out definitely highlights the power dynamics at play in a given situation.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting a handle on these phrasal verbs.
Yeah.
But before we move on to your next category,
Okay.
can you tell me more about Funfluen?
Oh, sure. Funfluen is a fantastic language learning app that uses movies and TV shows to teach you new vocabulary and grammar in a way that's engaging and entertaining.
It sounds like a really cool approach.
It really is. It's all about learning in context, which makes the process much more effective and enjoyable.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
I recommend it.
All right, so we've covered some basic but essential phrasal verbs
Right.
and even delved into the realm of subtle context ones. What other categories of Squid Game phrasal verbs have you uncovered in your notes?
You've also got a section labeled Phrasal Verbs with Multiple Meanings. And trust me, these are where things get really interesting.
Ooh, I love a good challenge.
All right, bring it on.
Okay, so let's move on to your next category, complex time-related phrasal verbs.
Okay.
And you've got come to an end, highlighted several times throughout the script.
Yeah,
It seems like a pretty straightforward phrase, but, phrasal verbs, there are always some nuances
I bet.
we can explore.
Right.
So while come to an end simply means that something finishes or concludes, it often implies a sense of finality or inevitability.
Okay.
It suggests that something has run its course and reached its natural conclusion, whether it's a game, a relationship, or even a life.
So it's not just about something stopping.
No.
It's about reaching a point where there's no going back.
Think about it this way. The party came to an end when the police showed up. It suggests that the party was over for good,
Right.
not just paused or interrupted. Okay, I see the distinction. It's like saying the chapter has closed or the curtain has fallen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It emphasizes that something is truly finished, and in the context of Squid Game, it makes sense that this phrasal verb would appear frequently. After all, the game is all about reaching a definitive end with only one ultimate winner.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now you've also got wind up, highlighted next to several lines about how situations conclude or people end up in a certain place. Like, where do you think you'll wind up after graduation?
Wind up is a good one because it's like end up, but I feel like it implies something more.
You're right. Wind up suggests a less planned or predictable ending, almost like saying end up, but with an added sense of how things unfolded.
Okay.
It often implies that a series of events or choices led to a particular outcome, maybe not the intended one, but the one that ultimately came to be.
So it's like the journey matters as much as the destination.
Yes.
It's not just about where you end up, but how you got there.
That's a great way to put it. It's about the path taken, the twists and turns that life throws your way, and the unexpected places you might find yourself.
I like that. So it's not always about having a clear plan
Right,
or a
yeah.
set destination.
Yeah.
It's about being open to the possibilities,
Exactly.
seeing where life takes you.
Wind up embraces the uncertainty and unpredictability of life, and that feels very relevant to the characters in Squid Game who are constantly facing unexpected challenges and outcomes.
That's so true. They start the game with one goal in mind, to win the money, but they quickly realize that the game has a life of its own and they have to adapt to survive.
Right, they're constantly being thrown curveballs, and where they wind up is often a result of choices made under pressure, alliances formed and broken, and a whole lot of luck.
Okay, I'm loving this. I'm starting to see Squid Game in a whole new light, not just a thrilling show, but a phrasal verb goldmine.
That's the beauty of learning a language through entertainment. You're absorbing these expressions naturally in context, which makes them much more memorable and meaningful.
It's like osmosis. You're not just memorizing definitions, you're understanding how the language works in real-world situations, which is so much more effective.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to Funfluen. This app is all about leveraging the power of movies and TV shows to make language learning engaging, immersive, and fun.
You know what? I keep hearing about Funfluen, and I'm really starting to get curious.
Okay.
Can you tell me a bit more about how it works?
Of course, Funfluen breaks down language in a way that's really accessible and interactive. You can watch your favorite shows and movies, pause, rewind, and get instant definitions and explanations of new words and phrases.
Oh, that sounds incredibly useful. It's like having a personal language tutor built right into your streaming experience.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of learning new vocabulary and grammar by providing you with context and instant feedback. And since it's tailored to your interests, it's much more enjoyable and effective than traditional language learning methods.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
I highly recommend it. It's a game changer for language learners.
All right, so we've covered some basic but essential phrasal verbs. We've even delved into the realm of complex time-related ones.
Right.
What other categories of Squid Game phrasal verbs have you uncovered in your notes?
You've also got a section labeled Phrasal Verbs with Multiple Meanings. And trust me, these are where things get really interesting.
Ooh, I love a good challenge. Bring it on.
Okay, so you've got phrasal verbs with multiple meanings. And like I said, these are where things can get a little tricky.
Yeah, those sound like they could really trip you up.
They definitely can, but they're also some of the most versatile and expressive phrasal verbs in the English language. You've got take out highlighted a bunch of times, and it seems like you're noticing how its meaning shifts depending on the context.
Yeah, I'm seeing it used in a lot of different ways.
Right.
From eliminating players to ordering food.
Exactly. Take out can be used to describe removing something like taking out the trash or taking an organ out for a transplant. In Squid Game, it's often used in a more sinister way, like when a player is taken out of the game, meaning they're eliminated often permanently.
Right, so in that context,
Yeah.
it has a sense of finality.
Right.
And even violence.
Exactly. But then you also see it used in more everyday situations like, let's take out a loan, or I'm going to take out my frustration on this punching bag.
So it can be about removing something.
Yeah.
Physically, figuratively, or even emotionally.
Exactly. It's all about understanding the context and how the phrasal verb is being used to convey a specific meaning.
This is fascinating. Like those phrasal verbs are little chameleons blending into different situations and taking on new shades of meaning. What other multi-meaning marvels have you discovered?
You've also highlighted pickup several times, and I think you're noticing how it can be used to describe everything from learning a new skill to, well, picking someone up in a car.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that even the most common phrasal verbs can have surprising depths.
Absolutely. In its simplest form, picked up means to lift something from a lower position. But in Squid Game, you see it used in more nuanced ways, like he picked up the game quickly, meaning he learned the rules and strategies easily.
Right, or she picked up on his subtle cues.
Exactly.
Meaning she noticed and understood his nonverbal signals.
It can also be used romantically, like he tried to pick her up at the bar.
Wow, so pickup can be about physical actions, mental processes, and even social interactions.
It really highlights how flexible and adaptable phrasal verbs can be. It's all about paying attention to the context and understanding the subtle ways they're being used.
I'm definitely starting to see that. And I have to say, this whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me. I'm starting to appreciate phrasal verbs in a whole new way.
That's wonderful to hear. And remember, the more you expose yourself to authentic English through movies, TV shows, books, or even conversations with native speakers, the more you'll naturally start to pick up these nuances.
And that's where Funfluen comes in, right? It provides that immersive language learning experience that helps you master these tricky phrasal verbs without even realizing you're studying.
Exactly. It turns language learning into an enjoyable activity that fits seamlessly into your daily life.
So to wrap things up, we've explored a whole range of phrasal verbs, from Squid Game, from the basic to the more complex, and even those with multiple meanings.
And we've seen how these phrasal verbs aren't just random words. They add color, intensity, and natural flow to the dialogue. They're the secret ingredient that makes English sound less like a textbook and more like, well, Squid Game.
Exactly. They bring the language to life and give it that authentic flavor that's so hard to capture in a traditional classroom setting.
And remember, the best way to master these phrasal verbs is to keep watching your favorite shows and movies, paying attention to how they're used, and maybe even trying to use them in your own conversations.
And if you're looking for a fun and effective way to boost your English fluency, definitely check out Funfluen. You might be surprised at how much you can learn from your favorite shows.
It's a game changer.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics. We'll see you next time.